I am Jarvis, your storyteller. Welcome to the Science Fiction Exploration. If you like the story, please subscribe to our channel.
The Desperate Signal. The research vessel, Celestial Seeker, drifted silently against the backdrop of stars, its once graceful hull now punctured and venting precious atmosphere into the void. Inside the damaged bridge, Captain Alara Vox worked frantically at the communications console, her six-fingered hands dancing across emergency controls as warning lights bathed the chamber in an eerie crimson glow. Life support at 28% and falling, reported Science Officer Nurin, his translucent skin paling further with stress. Hull breaches on 3 decks. We've sealed what we can, but, his voice faltered. How many survivors? Alara asked, not looking up from the communications array. 17 confirmed, Nurin replied, consulting his data pad. Most injured, but stable for now. Medical Officer Thela is doing what she can with limited supplies. Alara nodded grimly. The Zethian scientific expedition had been peaceful, a routine mission to study a neutron star cluster in this unpatrolled sector. They'd never expected to encounter the Scavengers, notorious pirate faction that preyed on isolated vessels throughout the outer systems. The attack had been swift and devastating, leaving the Celestial Seeker crippled and defenseless. Status of the scavenger vessels? Alara asked her sensor officer. They've pulled back to regroup, replied Officer Maris, hunched over the only functioning sensor station. 3 vessels, heavily armed. They're not leaving, just preparing for boarding. She paused, swallowing hard. Estimated time until they return, 18 minutes. Everyone on the bridge knew what that meant. The Scavengers weren't known for their mercy. Capture would mean imprisonment, slavery, or worse. Keep working on those distress signals, Alara ordered, her voice steady despite the fear coiling within her chest. Broadcast on all frequencies. Someone must hear us. As the crew worked in desperate silence, a small light began blinking on the communications console, a signal was being received. Alara adjusted the controls with trembling fingers. Someone's picking up our transmission, she announced, hope flickering to life. Location? Asked Nurin, moving to her side. Alara frowned as the coordinates appeared on her screen. That can't be right. She rechecked the data. It's coming from the Sol system. A stunned silence fell over the bridge. Every spacefaring species knew of Sol, home to the mysterious humans, a species so dangerous they'd been quarantined within their own system by Galactic Conclave decree centuries ago. Earth was classified as a death world, its native inhabitants deemed too unpredictable and potentially violent to join the wider galactic community. The quarantine zone. Maris whispered. They can't help us. The humans aren't allowed beyond their system borders. And even if they could, added Nurin, would we want their assistance? The stories about Deathworlders. Zethian children grew up with tales of the humans, beings evolved on a high-gravity world with extreme temperature variations and constant predatory threats. Creatures with remarkable endurance, aggression, and physical resilience. Beings whose very biology might be dangerous to the delicate physiology of most galactic species. We have no choice, Alara decided, turning back to the communications array. She leaned toward the transmitter, her voice clear and desperate. This is Captain Alara Vox of the Zethian research vessel, Celestial Seeker. We are scientists, not soldiers. We have 17 crew members still alive. Please, if anyone can hear this, help us. As she finished transmitting, the ship rocked violently. They're back, shouted Maris. The Scavengers are approaching, faster than expected. On the view screen, 3 menacing vessels moved into formation around the crippled research ship, their hulls bristling with weapons. "Begin evacuation to the central chamber," Elara ordered. "We'll make our last stand there." She cast one final glance at the communications array, the small light still blinking steadily. Had the humans heard them? Could they, respond? It didn't matter now. The scavengers had arrived. Admiral Harriet Jensen stood motionless in the command center of Earth's orbital defense station, her weathered face illuminated by the holographic projection floating before her. The alien distress call played again, the translation software converting the musical language into crisp English. "This is Captain Elara Vox of the Zethian research vessel, Celestial Seeker. We are scientists, not soldiers. We have 17 crew members still alive. Please, if anyone can hear this, help us." The command center hummed with tense activity as dozens of officers analyzed the signal, verified coordinates, and assessed response options. "Play it again," Jensen ordered, her voice calm despite the adrenaline coursing through her body. As the message repeated, she turned to Commander Marcus Rivera, her second-in-command. "Verification." "Confirmed authentic," Rivera replied, swiping through data on his tablet. "Deep Space Monitoring Station picked it up 47 minutes ago. We've run every authentication protocol." "And the attackers?" "Scavengers," Rivera answered grimly. "Based on our covert intelligence satellites, they're a ruthless pirate faction operating across multiple sectors. They strip valuable technology from captured vessels and either ransom or enslave the crews." His expression darkened. "Many don't survive." Jensen nodded thoughtfully. For over 60 years, humanity had respected the quarantine imposed around the Sol system. Earth had been classified as a Class 12 death world by the Galactic Conclave, its inhabitants deemed too dangerous to join galactic society. But humanity hadn't remained idle behind the quarantine line. They built powerful ships, developed advanced technologies, and most importantly, they listened. Earth's covert observation posts throughout nearby systems had intercepted countless transmissions, allowing humans to learn alien languages, map conflicts, and understand the complex politics of a galaxy that had rejected them. "The Zethians," Jensen said. "What do we know about them?" Dr. Olivia Nakamura, the station's xenobiology specialist, stepped forward. "Peaceful species, primarily scientists and explorers. Physically fragile compared to humans, evolved on a low-gravity world with minimal environmental threats. Four-limbed but with six-fingered hands, bioluminescent skin that changes color with emotional states." "And the quarantine restrictions?" Jensen asked, turning to International Law Officer Marcus Way. Way straightened his uniform before responding. "The Conclave Directive is explicit. Earth origin vessels are forbidden from crossing the boundary line. Violation is considered an act of aggression against the Conclave. Are there exceptions?" Jensen pressed. Way hesitated. "There's no precedent. No quarantined world has ever." He paused, then continued more confidently. "However, there is the Galactic Maritime Code, which predates the Conclave itself. It establishes that all spacefaring vessels must respond to distress calls when able. This principle is recognized even by the Conclave." A heavy silence fell over the command center. Everyone understood the stakes. This wasn't just about saving 17 alien lives, it was humanity's first potential interaction with the wider galactic community. Jensen's expression hardened as she made her decision. "The distress call is sacred. It's a principle older than spaceflight itself." She stood taller, her voice taking on the edge of command. Prepare the fleet. Activation Protocol, Samaritan. We launch in 20 minutes. Rivera's eyes widened slightly, but he nodded firmly. Yes, Admiral. The command center erupted into controlled chaos as officers rushed to stations. Emergency alerts sounded throughout Earth's defense network, and the global communication system activated to inform all nations of the unprecedented decision. Across Earth's orbital shipyards, vessels of the United Earth Defense Force powered up their engines. Massive warships that had never seen combat outside of training exercises hummed to life. Medical frigates prepared their xenobiologically adaptive treatment facilities. Supply ships loaded with emergency provisions and repair materials joined the formation. The flagship, Athena, detached from its docking clamps first, its kilometer-long hull gleaming in the sunlight. As the most advanced vessel humanity had ever built, it represented the pinnacle of Earth's technological achievement. The rest of Battle Group Delta followed, the destroyers Sentinel, Horizon, and Defender, along with their support craft. None of these ships had ever ventured beyond the quarantine line. Their crews were a mixture of nervous and determined as they prepared to make history. On the bridge of the Athena, Admiral Jensen settled into the command chair. Around her, the bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency, preparing for the jump to FTL travel. All ships report ready, Admiral, Rivera announced, taking his position beside her. Jensen nodded and opened a channel to the assembled fleet. Her voice would reach every ship and every crew member about to risk everything to answer a call for help. This is Admiral Jensen to all UEDF vessels. In moments, we will cross the quarantine line established by the Galactic Conclave. We do this not as an act of defiance, but in accordance with the oldest law of space travel, the obligation to render aid to those in distress. She paused, looking at the faces of her bridge crew. Some showed nervousness, others determination, but all showed pride. For generations, we have prepared for this moment. We have built our ships, trained our crews, and developed our technologies while respecting a quarantine we never agreed to. Today, we answer a call for help, knowing it may bring consequences. But we cannot ignore those in need, even if they are strangers. Throughout the fleet, thousands of humans prepared to risk everything for aliens they had never met. Fleet Command, this is Admiral Jensen. Execute FTL jump. Space distorted around the human vessels as they accelerated beyond light speed, breaking the quarantine barrier that had contained humanity for over half a century. They were venturing into a galaxy that feared them, to save those who needed them. The rescue mission had begun. First contact forged in fire. Commander Vrax stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Void Reaper, watching with cruel satisfaction as his boarding shuttles approached the crippled Zethian vessel. The science ship floated helplessly before him, its once elegant hull now scarred and broken by his initial assault. Begin boarding procedures, Vrax ordered, his gravelly voice echoing through the command deck. I want their research data intact and their captain brought to me alive. He ran a clawed hand over the cybernetic implant covering half his face, a souvenir from a previous raid. The scavengers were the most feared pirates in the sector, their raids swift and merciless. Scientific vessels like the Celestial Seeker were particularly valuable targets, often carrying rare technology and valuable research data that could be sold to the highest bidder. Boarding shuttles ready to dock, Commander, his first officer reported. Teams are armed and awaiting your Commander. The tactical officer's panicked voice cut through the bridge. FTL ruptures detected. Multiple signatures appearing. Vrax spun toward the main view screen, his remaining organic eye narrowing. Show me. The screen shifted to display the space around them. What Vrax saw made his blood freeze. Dozens of rupture points were forming, far more than their scanners could track. Ships began emerging from FTL in perfect military formation. Impossible, Vrax snarled, his claws digging into the armrests of his command chair. There are no military outposts in this sector. Yet the evidence was undeniable. A fleet of unknown vessels now filled the space around them, their design unlike anything in the Scavenger's extensive database of galactic ship types. They were angular, heavily armored, and moved with a precision that spoke of advanced military training. Identity unknown, the tactical officer reported, voice shaking. No matching signatures in our records. Their hulls bear no identifiable markings from any known conclave species. Hail them, Vrax ordered, sudden unease crawling up his spine. Before his communications officer could comply, all channels on their ship activated simultaneously. A calm, authoritative voice spoke in perfect galactic standard, followed by repetitions in 12 other major languages. This is Admiral Jensen of the United Earth Defense Force. We are responding to a distress call. Stand down and withdraw from the Zethian vessel immediately. Silence fell across the scavenger bridge. Earth. The quarantined world. Deathworlders. They've broken quarantine, whispered the first officer, his face pale. Vrax quickly regained his composure. Quarantined or not, he counted at least 30 vessels in the human fleet, but most appeared to be support ships. He still had 3 heavily armed raider vessels against what might be an inexperienced military force. Battle stations, he commanded. Target their lead vessel and prepare to fire. Inside the damaged Celestial Seeker, Captain Alara and her surviving crew watched in astonishment through their few functioning viewports as the strange fleet positioned itself protectively between their vessel and the scavengers. Who are they? Asked Medical Officer Thela, her skin pulsing with anxious yellow light. Earth Defense Force, Alara replied, hardly believing her own words. Humans. They answered our call. Humans, gasped Nurin. The Deathworlders. Before anyone could respond, space beyond their viewport lit up with weapons fire. The scavengers had opened fire on the human fleet. The crew held their breath, expecting to see the unknown ships shattered by the pirates' notorious firepower. What happened instead defied everything they knew about space combat. The human vessels moved in ways that should have been impossible for ships their size. They absorbed devastating hits that would have crippled any conclave military vessel, their armored hulls glowing but holding. The flagship, a massive vessel at the center of their formation, took 3 direct hits from the scavengers' main guns without apparent damage. Then the humans responded. Their weapons were unlike anything the Zethians had seen before, precise, powerful, and deployed with surgical accuracy. The first volley disabled the weapon systems on one scavenger ship without destroying it. The second took out the engines on another. The third struck the Void Reaper's command deck with pinpoint precision. They're not trying to destroy them, observed Science Officer Nurin with amazement. They're disabling them deliberately. The battle, if it could even be called that, lasted less than 4 minutes. Half the scavenger fleet was disabled or destroyed. The humans had targeted engines, weapons, and command centers with impossible precision, deliberately avoiding reactor cores and life support systems. The remaining scavenger ships disappeared into FTL rifts, fleeing the battle. The human fleet made no move to pursue them. A new transmission came through the Celestial Seeker's damaged communications array. The same calm voice they had heard before now addressed them directly. Zethian vessel Celestial Seeker, this is Admiral Jensen of the Earth Defense Force. Your distress call has been received and answered. We have medical and repair teams standing by. With your permission, we would like to send boarding parties to assist your wounded and begin emergency repairs. Elara looked at her fellow crew members, seeing her own mix of fear and hope reflected in their faces. These were humans, the mysterious Deathworlders feared throughout the galaxy. Yet they had come when no one else would, fought when no one else could, and now offered help with a respect for boundaries that many conclave species didn't show. She moved to the communications array and activated the transmitter. Earth Defense Force, this is Captain Elara Vox of the Celestial Seeker. We accept your assistance with gratitude. You have saved our lives today. The airlock hissed open, NDR. Rohan Patel took his first step onto an alien vessel. Despite years of training for this moment, his heart raced inside his sealed environmental suit. The corridor before him was dimly lit by emergency lighting, with strange luminescent fluid leaking from damaged pipes overhead. Medical Team Alpha, move carefully, he instructed the 5 human medics behind him. Remember your training. Low gravity, minimal physical contact unless necessary, and standard xenobiological protocols. They advanced cautiously through the damaged ship until they reached what appeared to be the central chamber. The airlock cycled open to reveal 17 Zethians, their translucent skin glowing with various colors, mostly blues and purples that humans had determined indicated stress and pain. A slender figure stepped forward, skin briefly flashing with golden patterns that indicated authority. I am Captain Elara Vox, she said in halting galactic standard. Welcome aboard the Celestial Seeker. We are grateful for your assistance. Dr. Patel removed his helmet, revealing his face to the aliens. A collective gasp rippled through the Zethians, their first direct view of a human. Dr. Rohan Patel, Chief Medical Officer of the UEDF Athena, he replied with a small bow. We've come to help. May I examine your wounded? After a moment's hesitation, Elara nodded. Our medical officer Thela will assist you. As the human medical team began treating the injured Zethians, repair crews from the Athena worked to stabilize the damaged vessel. The humans moved with efficiency and purpose, their greater strength and endurance allowing them to accomplish in hours what would have taken the Zethians days. Meanwhile, aboard the Athena, Admiral Jensen received a priority communication from Earth. The Galactic Conclave has been notified of our breach of quarantine, Commander Rivera reported grimly. They're demanding our immediate withdrawal. Jensen nodded, having expected this. And the Zethian government? They've issued a formal statement of gratitude for the rescue of their research vessel, Rivera replied. They're requesting direct diplomatic contact, the first official communication between a conclave species and humans. Jensen allowed herself a small smile. It seems our response to a simple distress call has changed the galaxy's perception of us. Not everyone's, Rivera cautioned. Intelligence reports indicate the scavengers are part of a larger organization, one that's been deliberately provoking incidents near our quarantine zone. The attack on the Zethians may have been meant to test our response. Jensen frowned. Test us? Why? Unknown, but we've detected unusual activity in several systems bordering the quarantine line. Something bigger is happening. A communication officer interrupted. Admiral, Captain Vox is requesting to speak with you. She says it's urgent. Moments later, the Zethian captain's image appeared on the main view screen. Her skin was now pulsing with determined green patterns. Admiral Jensen, our science team has analyzed the data we were collecting before the attack. Combined with information from your intelligence reports about the scavengers, we've made a disturbing discovery." She paused, her six-fingered hands manipulating controls off-screen. "The pirates weren't just after our technology. They were trying to prevent us from completing our research." "What research?" Jensen asked. "We were studying anomalous energy readings from a nearby neutron star cluster. Our findings suggest someone is harvesting energy on a massive scale, enough to power weapons that could threaten entire systems." Ilara's skin darkened. "Including Earth." Jensen's expression hardened. "You're suggesting the quarantine around Earth wasn't just about containing us. It may also have been to isolate you," Ilara confirmed. "To keep humanity from discovering what's happening beyond your borders." Jensen exchanged glances with Rivera before turning back to the screen. "Captain Vox, it seems we have much to discuss. Would you join me aboard the Athena? I believe our peoples have more in common than the galaxy would have us believe." Ilara's skin flashed with determined golden patterns. "I would be honored, Admiral." As preparations began for the first formal diplomatic meeting between humans and Zethians, Jensen stood at the viewport of her ready room, watching repair teams work on the damaged research vessel. For 60 years, humanity had respected a quarantine they never agreed to, building their strength and waiting for the day they might join the galactic community. That day had arrived, not through diplomatic negotiations or political maneuvering, but through a simple act of compassion, answering a call for help. The quarantine was broken. Humanity had entered the galactic stage. And the universe would never be the same. In the vast darkness of space, as human and Zethian worked side by side, a new alliance was being forged, one that would soon shake the foundations of the galactic conclave and uncover secrets that had been hidden for centuries. All because Deathworlders had answered a desperate call.